NHL 22 is here. This video was made possible by the EA Game Changers program. Hey guys, what is up? SPORTSTM here, or Mika Zubinejad, my first NHL 22 video. That is right. Finally feels so good to say that. The trailer dropped just a bit ago, but there's going to be tons of trailer breakdowns on YouTube. I want to get to the meat and the potatoes of NHL 22. So basically what I'm going to do throughout this video is show you guys everything you need to know heading into NHL 22. That includes stuff like next gen, the progression, the new engine, X factors, everything you guys need to know. Now in the background, I'll obviously have some clips of the trailer based on whatever I'm talking about. Let's get into it. All right, I think the first thing we need to talk about is that it is on next gen consoles. Now this is something that everyone expected, but the way that it's gonna be is not great. Basically, every single console, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5 will all be their own separate entity. That means someone on PS5 cannot play someone on PS4, same with Xboxes, and there is no crossplay between PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. Now, obviously, this is super upsetting for a lot of the community, and not even because it's a thing, but because consoles are just so hard to get right now. Now, obviously, this affects almost every online game mode. Obviously, online versus, if you're searching on versus and you and your buddy want to play, it will have to be on the same generation of console, which is obviously really unfortunate. And we have some bigger implications in EA SHL and HUT. Now, we'll start with HUT. Basically, the way it will work is that your HUT team will carry over only to a certain extent. So basically, how the HUT content migration will work is pretty interesting, and you got to make sure you listen if you're going to do this. Now, this will be available starting in December 2021. So if you know you're not going to get a console up until that point, start on last gen. Start on Xbox One, PS4. You'll be able to migrate some of your progress over, but if you already have one of the consoles, this doesn't really apply to you. So players will get a one-time transfer of their HUT items. That includes the following. Users can protect up to 20 player items and one coach. So basically, whatever your current lineup is in HUT, you can transfer those cards over to next gen. But the biggest thing is that they will become untradeable. So in my honest opinion, if you know that you're going to switch consoles in the middle of NHL 22, there's no reason to buy anything tradable. So your 20 players and your coach will be moved over to the next gen, untradeable, and the rest of your collection will be based into packs. Now, obviously, we don't know exactly what the calculations will be. If you have a bunch of players in your collection and a bunch of coins, you'll probably get a good amount of packs, but at the end of the day, they're just packs. Now, one of the most important things that if you're going to be playing on Xbox One or PS4, do not make a HUT team on Series X or PS5 before you're ready to transfer. It is a one-time transfer. It has to be done at the same exact time. So that means if you create a HUT team on PS5 or Xbox Series X before that December 2021 date, you will not get any of your players from your Xbox One or PS4 team. And it's also important to note, this doesn't go both ways. If it turns out that more people are playing on last gen, you cannot transfer your next gen, so PS5, Xbox Series X, you cannot transfer that team to PS4 and Xbox One. Now, obviously, it's super unfortunate. This is the way it has to be. It makes sense logistically if you think about it. They're not going to give you 1 million coins and just disrupt the economies in December, but it is super unfortunate for the people that are going to be starting on the last gen PS4 and Xbox One. Like I said, I think the best way to go about this, if you're going to be a HUT player making that switch during NHL 22, is go 100% untradeable with everything you do. Now, to stay in the HUT realm, there's an important note as well. The markets are not connected at all. So that means if I'm playing an Xbox Series X, I cannot buy someone's card on Xbox One. And not possible. Now, this is super interesting because obviously they don't want to mess up the economies of the separate platforms, but at the same time, the economies are going to be pretty different. Like I said, most people will probably go untradeable on Generation 4, which is Xbox One and PS4. But at the same time, on Xbox Series X, I'm going fully tradable. So it should be interesting to see how the markets play out. And honestly, man, it kind of kills trade days, and obviously it kills the market as a whole. It's probably going to be a lot slower of a market, unfortunately, just because of people not having the consoles. Now, moving on to EA SHL, this is probably the most disappointing news, considering that we've gotten a lot of good things with ESHL. None of your progress will carry over from Xbox One and PS4 to Xbox Series X and PS5 regarding ESHL. You will have to create a whole new character in World of CHEL, and none of your progress carries over. So honestly, man, that is a huge bummer, and that's a huge shot to all of these leagues out there, whether it's NHL Gamer or LG. It is brutal. Now, obviously, I'm just speculating here, but hopefully when the December date comes around for the HUT dual entitlement, hopefully there's something for World of CHEL, because obviously you're going to be grinding that player, and if you end up moving to the different console, you're going to want your stats and your accomplishments. I really hope they figured that out. Now, talking just game-wise, Dual Entitlement is not available for every single edition of the game. So if you pay $69.99 to buy the standard edition of NHL 22, you get whatever copy you buy, whether that's PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. That's the copy you get. However, if you buy the X Factor edition of the game, you will be able to play the last gen console. So if you buy the X Factor version of Xbox Series X, you can play the Xbox One version and play everyone on Xbox One, which obviously is less than ideal, but it's something that FIFA and Madden are doing as well. In years past, since the consoles were coming out right around launch of the game, it came free. I assume this will begin to be the norm as games keep coming out. I mean, if this is any year to buy the X Factor edition, the more pricey edition, it's probably the year. And now let's get into what we actually saw in the trailer. So obviously the biggest thing is the first thing that we see in the trailer. Frostbite is finally in NHL. Now, Frostbite has been in FIFA and Madden for a long time, and everyone's been requesting it, and honestly, it looks great. The biggest thing that Frostbite brings that not a lot of people understand is that it is a rendering engine. That means it renders the game better, it makes everything look better. It doesn't necessarily affect gameplay. Now, obviously, there will be things that it affects as a consequence of being Frostbite, but at the end of the day, it is almost purely there to make the game look great. And obviously throughout the trailer, it does look great. The game looks beautiful. All the screenshots they're showing and all the textures look awesome. The ice, the lights, the fans, it looks great. We'll have to see how that goes into gameplay, but Frostbite's here. Hopefully you guys are excited. So obviously the biggest addition into NHL 22 is X Factors. And just a quick rundown of what X Factors are. Basically, they're abilities that only certain players will have, and you have to do certain things in-game to activate them. And the first one we see in the trailer is Auston Matthews, who's the cover boy, by the way, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail. Auston Matthews has Shock and Awe. Now, from what we can tell in the trailer, it looks like it has to do something with deking. He does a little toe drag and then scores on Jacob Markstrom. So maybe he gets a wrist shot accuracy after he performs a deke. He gets more shot power, more offensive awareness, something like that, something after a deke. And the next one we see is Mika Zubinejad. You see his eyes moving around, which I don't know if that will actually be in the game. That would be pretty cool in the replays either way. But I assume that he has some passing X factor where, hey, he outside of his radius, he can pass it. He has higher pass accuracy. Or maybe, hey, when he jumps onto the ice, his pass accuracy is higher. There are a lot of different ways these X factors can go. And honestly, I haven't played Madden enough to know whether or not it's a good or bad thing. I think it's interesting. And then we end up seeing Sidney Crosby with the deflection. There's nothing more Sidney Crosby than a beautiful deflection. So I'm assuming that's another X factor where, hey, he's better at deflections. That's it. He's gonna deflect more pucks, or maybe his deflections have more power. They have more speed. Whatever the case may be, he's better at deflection. And like I said, these are only for certain players. So maybe Crosby's the only one with the deflection X factor, and that can really change the gameplay in every single game mode. HUT, World of CHEL, if that X factor is in World of CHEL, franchise, all that stuff. And I think the coolest one we see in this trailer is Alexander Ovechkin reverse hitting Alex Pietrangelo. Now, reverse hitting's never really been a thing in the games. Maybe early Xbox and early 2000s, but recently never been a thing. You can see he just absolutely absorbs the hit and knocks down Pietrangelo. Now, I don't really know how this will work, whether that's right when he gets off the ice, or hey, once he makes an interception on defense, then he has this ability where anyone that tries to hit him, he's going to reverse hit them. And it kind of shows the animation where he's lifting his stick around Pietrangelo to keep going with the puck. I really hope this is a smooth transition. If I'm just skating and I keep reverse hitting people and losing the puck, it's going to drive me nuts. Now, it is important to note that these are not listed as X Factors. I'm just purely assuming that reverse hitting is an X Factor. Maybe everyone can reverse it. Maybe everyone has better deflections. I'm just going off what I see. And we see another one quickly with Sean Couturier knocking down the puck and flattening it and getting ready for a pass or a shot. Maybe I can't imagine that's an X factor. Maybe it's a superstar ability is what they call the lower X factors. So maybe something like that where more players are able to bat the puck down and get it flat sooner. And then we see another defined X factor in Contortionist with Andre Vasilevsky. I love the pretzel picture, by the way. It looks delicious. But an insane save that Vasilevsky makes there on McKinnon. Now, I have no idea how these goalies' X factors are going to work, and honestly, goalies are such a crapshoot that I don't really know how effective these will be. But for all we know, the Contortionist may say, hey, you know what? He makes more acrobatic saves, so he does the pad stack. He does the, ooh, caught it behind my back move. Maybe he makes more of those. So it should be interesting to see how X factors play into goalies. And then we see Matt Barzal do a between the legs shot. Now, obviously, that could just be a shot that they put in the trailer because it looks sick. Maybe there's an X factor for sweet shots, trick shots. I think it'd be pretty interesting if they did an X factor where, hey, if you perform a trick shot with this player, there's a more likely chance of it going in. And just imagine that with the lacrosse, the between the legs. Like, no doubt in my mind, Matt Tkachuk would have that move for scoring the between the legs. I don't know if Barzal's ever done it in a game, but a pretty interesting X factor. It really makes me think about what really could be an X factor and makes me wonder how many of these players are actually going to have X factor. And towards the end of the trailer, we see my boy Seth Jones making a diving block attempt. I don't know if he actually blocks it, but you see he actually moves his legs. It looks like we have different animations for blocking. Again, maybe Seth Jones has a blocking X factor or superstar ability. Either way, new blocking animations, cool. And then we do see Evgeny Malkin push off a defender there on Florida. Another move where, hey, the A button move, the protect the puck move, really hasn't been effective in the past couple years. Maybe if Geno Malkin has this X factor where he literally can push people off of him, I'll use it more. And again, that's a thing, like I said, it really affects how you're going to build your HUT team, your franchise team, and your World of CHEL player. Last but not least, let's talk about pre-orders. So if you end up pre-ordering the X Factor version of the game, which, like I said, is that extra edition and gives you dual entitlement. Not only do you get dual entitlement, you get 3 days of early access, up to 10 HUT Diamond Choice player packs, which we've seen last year, 1 HUT X Factor player choice, which obviously seems like it's going to be a player that we're able to upgrade via X Factor. I don't really know. We also get an X Factor Power Up Starter Pack. Like I said, it sounds like we're going to be able to power up that player that we get from the pre-order. And then we get 4 HUT X Factor Power Up Packs as well. So it's like, it seems like we're going to have this upgrading system with the power up word there. So a lot of HUT content there. Now we do get some World of CHEL content. You get 5 World of CHEL X Factor Zone Ability unlocks, and you get 5 unlocked hockey bags. Now, once again, we don't really know how valuable that is. We don't really know what it means by Zone Ability unlocks. Does that mean you can unlock any Zone Ability based on your build? Don't really know there. Obviously, we know what's in hockey bags. And we get some Bia Pro stuffs. 2 Bia Pro X Factor slot unlocks, an XP boost, and bonus trait points. So it looks like a little bit of everything, whether you play offline with Bia Pro, you play HUT, or you play some World of CHEL. So that's pretty much it. On October 12th, you will be able to start playing some NHL 22. Obviously, normally it's a little bit earlier with EA Play. You probably get a trial. So let's say October 10th, you'll be able to start playing at least 10 hours. And then October 15th, it's out for everyone, whether that's Standard Edition or X Factor Edition. I'm so excited to get NHL 22 here, and I'm excited to talk more about it, because there's really so many things that can go into X Factor and these superstar abilities. It can really change the way that we, like I've been saying, play HUT, play World of CHEL, and honestly play franchise mode. So either way, hopefully this video was informative. If it did, please leave a like. I appreciate it. If you're excited for NHL 22, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There's going to be tons of NHL 22 content coming out soon. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, let me know down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.